The NFL offseason is a whole bucket of fun with free agency and trades and the draft, everything. Our friends over at Spotrac put together a list of one amazing transaction for each NFL team. And we wanted to go through the list and give our 2 cents because that's what we do. We don't even create original content anymore. We just react to reactions, but it's whatever. Anyway, starting at the top, goes in alphabetical order. So the Arizona Cardinals, JJ. So the Houston Texans let him go. JJ signs up with the Cardinals, where he's 32 years old, and he had a relatively healthy season last year, and that hasn't been his hallmark over the last 5 years or so. JJ, is he still peak JJ Watt, Defensive Player of the Year JJ Watt? Certainly not. But could he have a resurgence, a.k.a. like a late career Calais Campbell type resurgence in Arizona? Sure. I think he certainly could do that, plus bring some leadership. I think him and Chandler Jones out in the desert could get some things going. Atlanta, getting rid of Julio Jones, yeah, that's a big one. That is the major one. It is a turning of the page of the franchise, and even though it would have made sense to hold on to him, but they save up the cap space. Calvin Ridley is ready to be that wide receiver one. Kyle Pitts can really effectively take over Julio's role in the red zone, even though they never threw to Julio in the red zone. Not that I'm mad because of fantasy football anyway. But him and the Titans, yeah, I think it was time to turn the page. Ravens. So the Ravens, my goodness. How do you list signing Sammy Watkins, man? Like, they drafted Rashad Bateman to be their wide receiver one. And remember, the Ravens were tied to every single free agent wide receiver, potentially even trading up for a big-time wide receiver because they had 2 first-round picks after the Orlando Brown Jr. trade. But Sammy Watkins? No. Bills extending their own. So they took care of Matt Milano, Darrell Williams, John Feliciano, which kind of sucks. Would have liked to have him, as well as Levi Wallace, plus added Emmanuel Sanders. Sure. I get it. Where the Bills made the AFC title game last year, they're pretty solid on both sides of the ball, and yeah, taking care of their own, keeping them in the sphere, keeping this nucleus together for a couple years as they try to keep their Super Bowl window open, especially as Josh Allen. It's going to be complicated. It's going to be complicated with the cap as Josh Allen is going to get paid. Stephon Diggs will probably want a new contract as well, but as for right now, 2021 trying to get it done. Panthers, of course, trading for Sam Darnold. Now, the Panthers in the draft could have been in the mix for one of the top-tier quarterbacks. It would be interesting if they didn't trade for Sam Darnold, if they would have taken Justin Fields at that spot in the first round. Certainly possible. But, yeah, Carolina, they're trying to turn the page a little bit. They signed Teddy, didn't quite work out, and Matt Rule, Joe Brady, see if they can revive Sam Darnold's career. The Chicago Bears, so no Justin Fields, but sure, putting the franchise tag on Allen Robinson, where I don't get it with Allen Robinson. Like, I respect his game. I think that he's a very good player, but I don't think that he's top 5. I don't think he's a top 5 receiver in this game, even though PFF seems to love him. But keeping him in the sphere and getting some chemistry together with Justin Fields, maybe it will entice him to stay in Chicago, but I don't know if it will. Plus, Allen Robinson's sneaky young, because you remember he had a bunch of lost seasons in Jacksonville with Blake Bortles, eventually got to Chicago, signed the big contract, but yeah, we'll see. The Bengals drafting highly drafted offensive weapons. So getting Jamar Chase is huge, as well as they got Joe Mixon in the mix, as well as T. Higgins and Boyd. Drew Sample, they'll put him in there as well. And Joe Burrow has got the weapons. Will he have the protection? That's TBD there. Browns signing up John Johnson as well as Troy Hill. Both really big gets to that secondary. And with Grant Delpit coming back from the Achilles that cost him his entire rookie year, I think the secondary could be good to go. Browns already have a great offense. They have the best offensive line in football, and they're one of the best running teams in the league with Chubb and Hunt. And defensively, when they get together, plus they got clown shoes now with Myles Garrett. Woo! Kind of like it. Next up, the Dallas Cowboys finally ending the Cold War standoff with Dak Prescott. Last year, Dallas showed that they need Dak. After he went down with that horrific ankle injury, the offense just fell off a cliff. They have all the weapons. They have some semblance of a good offensive line. It certainly wasn't as great as it was a couple years ago with Bill Callahan when everyone was younger. But Dak Prescott, is he a true blue franchise quarterback? I still have my doubts, but is he a top 15 guy? Can you win playoff games? Can you win the division with Dak Prescott? Yes, absolutely you can. So it's smart for Jerry Jones to ink him up long term. Broncos, the secondary. Yeah, if you're in a division with Mahomes as well as Herbert, yeah, it does make sense for you. Wait, was Russell Wilson in the division? Wait, are they saying that Russell Wilson got traded to the Raiders? That's kind of crazy. But, yeah, you're in the division with Herbert as well as Patrick Mahomes. You do need defensive backs. And I think Patrick Surtain II can really get things going, as well as you take care of Kyle Fuller, getting him in the mix, plus taking care of Justin Simmons. That does make sense. Lions. So getting Jared Goff, trading Jared Goff, where they stole. Came out of that deal like the Cowboys and the Herschel Walker trade, like a light version of it, where they got rid of Matthew Stafford, who they potentially were going to cut anyway. And yeah, they have all the cap space, and they just take on Jared Goff's horrible contract that the Rams couldn't get out of, and they get 2 future first-round picks. So it's the best of both worlds, because the Lions, and they're going to be on scholarship for a couple of seasons, where they're not going to be competitive this year, and then they can just throw Jared Goff under the bus next year. It's like, oh, he wasn't the guy. We don't have our future franchise quarterback. Maybe we'll grab one at the top of next year's draft. Spencer Rattler will look good in Honolulu blue, but they still get Penei Sewell. So I kind of like what Detroit is doing, where it's a full-on tear it down and rebuild, and then we'll have the veneer of, oh, yeah, Jared Goff, former number 1 overall pick. Yeah, he's going to be our guy. Right. Greasy, grimy Green Bay Packers inking up Aaron Jones. I do like Aaron Jones. I think he's the best Aaron on the offense for the greasy, grimy Green Bay Packers. I think he's a diet version of Dalvin Cook. I think he's a diet version of even Alvin Kamara, but he got paid. So we'll see. Texans signing up Tyrod as well as drafting Davis Mills. So the Texans were bereft of draft picks because of Bill O'Brien's genius. But they signed up Tyrod, who's a solid veteran stopgap type quarterback. Like, I would prefer Tyrod over Andy Dalton. And then you do have Davis Mills, who's drafted right after Kellen Mond. For my money, I think they definitely wanted Kellen Mond. Local guy would have made a lot of sense for marketing. Plus, I think his ceiling's a little bit higher. Plus, Davis Mills played like 2 games in college at Stanford. Everyone's like, oh, Davis Mills. But it would make sense for him, Davis Mills, not to play right away. The Texans' offensive line is still just a train wreck outside of Tunsil. I mean, Titus Howard is kind of okay getting there, but yeah, they don't want another David Carr situation with Davis Mills. So, unfortunately, I think Tyrod is just going to be thrown to the fire and just like whatever. Colts getting Carson Wentz. Now, if they can resuscitate Carson Wentz's career, I think that the upside is major with the Colts. They went to the playoffs last year. They won 11 games with the corpse of Phillip Rivers. Frank Reich is a great offensive mind, had great success with Wentz in Philadelphia. So it made a lot of sense. And you look at the compensation, even if it maxes out in terms of comp, I mean, it's still a really good trade. Jaguars getting Trevor Lawrence. Yeah, you really had to do a lot to get that one, huh? It was really good. Chiefs, I love what the Chiefs did, man. So, jumping Joe Thuney, highest paid guard in NFL history. They traded for Orlando Brown Jr., having him play left tackle. They signed Kyle Long, though Kyle Long's already hurt. Plus, they also got Austin Blythe. So, their offensive line, which was their Achilles heel last year, no pun intended, with Eric Fisher, in the Super Bowl, they completely remade it. And imagine what Patrick Mahomes can do with a competent offensive line. It's going to be really scary. The Raiders signing up Kenyon Drake. They paid him like buku money. Like it was really insane. But of course, Mike Mayock, John Gruden, they're going to do what they do. They don't care what anyone else thinks, but I don't get it. I don't get it. Chargers revamping the offensive line ahead of Justin Herbert. You got Matt Filer. You have Corey Linsley, highest paid center in NFL history. Plus, you get Rashawn Slater. So their offensive line was abysmal last year, but now they can protect Herbert, and it's going to be pretty damn sexy out in LA. The Rams, Stafford, my God. I don't get the hype. Again, as someone who has seen Matthew Stafford twice a year, always respected his game, thought he was a tough dude. I didn't think that he was a franchise guy. A lot of hollow garbage stats, a lot of no playoff wins, 0 for 3, never won the division. He was not the bee's knees. But now, all of a sudden, with the Rams, he's supposed to be like that? We'll see. Dolphins pick up Jalen Waddle, speed for days. Plus, they signed Will Fuller in free agency. I love that they're getting to all the weapons. There's really no excuses. And if he doesn't get it done this year, I understand, like, pulling the plug on a top 5 pick after 2 years is kind of obtuse, but it be what it be. Vikings signing up Diesel Dalvin Tomlinson, and I think that this is going to be akin to the Linval Joseph signing, him coming over from the Giants, where he was seen with the Giants as just a run stuffer, but the fact that Dalvin will be playing 3-tech next to Michael Pierce, who definitely is a run stuffer, but Diesel brings that power pass rush. I think that his pass rushing ability is really underrated. I think he'll get after up front. I think that he's going to be at the end of the season, seen as one of the key value signings of free agency. The Patriots, who signed everyone in free agency, by the way. Again, Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry trying to go 2 tight ends again, like they did with Gronk as well as Aaron Hernandez back in the day. New Orleans Saints, so yeah, they lost a bunch of dudes on defense. They lost Trey Hendrickson, who really was a one-year wonder last year. They lost Sheldon Rankins, Anzalone, as well as Janoris Jenkins. And, defensively, they were pretty solid last year, but they are going to have to reboot on the fly to a degree. Giants pick up Kenny Golladay. I mean, the Giants, man, they got options for days around Danny Dimes. So now it's a lot like the Tua situation. He's got all the weapons around him, even though the Giants' offensive line is still abysmal. But if Daniel Jones can't get it done after year 3, it's pretty clear that they have to move on. The Jets picking up Zach Wilson, where it may be a blessing to size, where they miss out on one and they had their choice of quarterbacks, and where it was basically slotted that they had to take Zach Wilson or Trey Lance at 2, with Trevor Lawrence off the board. I think Zach Wilson, he has the right attitude. He's got the big time arm. He's got the Hollywood handsome good looks. I think that he could be Broadway Zachy. I think if they can protect him, I think if Mike LaFleur works with him, and I think Robert Saleh oversees and has a good partnership with him as a head coach as well and quarterback, I think that could be a really nice marriage. The Eagles. So I respect what Howie Roseman has done. He's like, we're not going to be competitive this year, but we're going to accumulate as many picks as possible, trading down, and we're going to see what we have in Jalen Hurts. And if he's not the guy, we're going to move on next year. We have the picks. We could make a play for Russell Wilson, potentially. We could make a big move up in the draft, but I like it where stop being half pregnant. If you're going to rebuild. And you can still have a little bit of fun, a little bit of hope and potential at that quarterback spot. The Steelers, so they list Big Ben as the big-time move. I would have implored Big Ben to retire, and then I would have made a move for a quarterback, and it's a hard reset time. I understand that they're blinded by the 11-0 start, but the Steelers were a flawed team. The Steelers were the worst 11-0 team in NFL history last year, and their offensive line is completely churned over. Yes, they did get Najee Harris, so maybe they'll be able to run the ball decently, but, man, having an old, immobile quarterback and a bad offensive line, that's no bueno. That's not good. Niners, Trent Williams, re-signing him, making him the highest paid left tackle in NFL history does make a lot of sense. Trent Williams took a year off of football, came back last year, and is still the best left tackle in the game. It's great, especially if and when Trey Lance gets in there. Protecting his blind side will be good for the young rookie. Seahawks, re-signing Chris Carson, where I like Chris Carson. I don't love him. I'm not completely insane and enamored by him, but I mean it hasn't worked out at the running back position so far. Rashad Penny was a burned first round pick, and you look at the Seattle Seahawks draft over the last couple of years and their free agent moves, they haven't been great. They have not been great. I think John Schneider's a little bit overrated. I think the game has passed Pete by a little bit, but it'd be what it be. The Bucks bringing back all 22 starters. Yes, that's the big headline, but I don't know if that's necessarily a good thing. I don't know if it is, because sometimes a little bit of turnover on the roster is good, chopping out some dead wood, but we'll see. The Bucks will definitely have a target on their back this year. We'll see if they can repeat. Titans, of course, signing up Julio, or trading for Julio. Julio, now he could be a wide receiver 2 behind A.J. Brown. I think A.J. Brown is one of the more underrated wide receivers in the game, and we'll see if the offense can be up to snuff without Arthur Smith calling the shots. Man, and the Washington sign up Ryan Fitzpatrick, where Fitzpatrick, man, everywhere he goes, he ends up starting, even if he's signing up as a backup. But I think they're going to roll with him this year. I think Heineke may give him a little competition in camp, but I think eventually Fitzpatrick will be the guy. And they got weapons. I mean, they got Samuel, they got Scary Terry McLaurin. I think Antonio Gibson, year 2, can be a really good dynamic threat. He was a great receiver at Memphis, and now they converted him to running back. So year 2, after that transition, could be big for him. So there you go. But is that it? Yeah, that's it. That's Spotrac's one offseason highlight for each team. Let us know your thoughts and our thoughts in the comment section below. Subscribe for daily Vikings takes. Want to support that work, post on the Venmo. But until next time, Skull, production value.